Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Janetta, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at UofVA for all the details. Our meeting and meditation today comes from Roy Berkowitz. Roy has attended Unity since 1990, has been speaking at his home church, Unity Center of DC, since 1996. Since 1990, Roy worked at HIV clinics as supervisor of HIV testers and as a mental health counselor. In addition, he trained doctors, nurses, social workers, and healthcare workers throughout Virginia to work with diverse HIV infected, affect, affected, and at-risk people. He retired in 2017 and volunteers with Virginia's Medical Research Corps, Aspire After School Learning, and on special days reads to preschoolers. Roy is a produced and published playwright, and in 2013, one of his one-act plays was turned into an award-winning short movie which won awards on the independent film circuit. His spiritual journey has informed his writing, his teaching, and all aspects of his career as he continues to have moments of touching his Buddha nature, his Christ light, his belief in the inherent worth and dignity of everyone. Of course, some days are better than others. And now, here is Roy Berkowitz.
Welcome, mighty companions from Fredericksburg. That was a nice introduction. Let me reintroduce myself. I am spirit. I am also biochemicals, hormones, neurotransmitters. I am divine. I am also patterns in my brain that have been developing for decades that are less than divine. I am kindness and compassion. I am also bodily sensations of fear, anxiety, sadness. I'm also very impatient. My body is teeming with trillions of microbes guiding my
Oh
behavior.
my.
There's my amygdala, tiny part of my brain that controls fear, anxiety, and other emotions. Then there's the sympathetic nervous system, body's fight or flight response system. That activates an increased heart rate, blood pressure, among other things I'm sure you know. And at those times when the body is doing that, I have less access to spirit, less access to my heart. It ain't easy when we have human thoughts and feelings and responses that are less than godlike. But the body responds. We don't have a choice about that. And different bodies may respond differently to the same situation. Genetics, trauma, different physiologies. Weave patterns of reactions based on our thinking, past shamings, rejections, humiliations, thoughts which we're not usually aware of, but thoughts that still fuel our nervous system. That, in turn, triggers more thoughts, which keep us in reactive, less than divine state, unless we use our superpower of awareness and choose to renegotiate to get out of that state. Thoughts are in the brain, but the awareness isn't. Biochemicals are in our body, but the awareness isn't. Getting the ego to release its grip so we can choose again can be as simple as being able to experience what's present at any given time, and the body lives in the present moment. We often hand over our Christ self to our thinking self. I can be aware of my thoughts. I don't have to believe them. They're not who I am. I can be aware of my feelings and of the adrenaline rushing through my body, my shallow breathing, leading to my initial reactions of fear, anxiety, impatience. But I don't have to let them take over. I don't have to believe and live the feeling. What a feat. Dealing with everything that I'm carrying around, I am amazing. I'll go out on a limb here and say, so are you. For we carry and contain multitudes. So we bring all our multitudes to unity on Sundays to get the reminders, to get the strength, the support, to sculpt, to work with what we're carrying around, to make use of, to blend, to integrate our humanity and our divinity. These past few months, I've been especially aware of my being human. Dr. Jill Bolt-Taylor, a neuroanatomist, she wrote about her experience of having a stroke. Based on her being a neuroanatomist, she was aware she was having a stroke and watched her brain break down. And she wrote a book sharing insights she gained as the cells in her brain recovered. It's called My Stroke of Insight. And she states in another book, Whole Brain Living the Anatomy of Choice, that once we've triggered an emotional response, it takes less than 90 seconds for the chemistry of the emotion to flood through us and flush out of our bloodstream. Of course, we may choose to rethink the thought that triggered the emotional circuit, to stay hurt, angry, sad for longer than 90 seconds. We are re-stimulating that emotional circuit. If no repeated trigger, the emotional circuit will run its course and stop after 90 seconds that it takes for the chemistry to neutralize. She says we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. We have the power to choose moment by moment. I didn't just quote Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. That's Dr. Taylor, a neuroanatomist. And she talks about re-stimulating the emotional circuit. That is, choosing to think and repeat again certain negative thoughts, beliefs. Buddha would say continuing to shoot arrows at ourselves, thoughts that trigger biochemicals, feelings, and keeping the suffering going. I want to be a responsible steward of my body, of this communication device, this form, this thing that lets me travel. Now, sometimes my heart bypasses the body, divine splendor. And at other times, well, Eric Butterworth talks about our imprisoned splendor. Steel bars of our creation, prisoners because of our thoughts, beliefs, messages from childhood that still weave their way into our consciousness and block our splendor. Tara Brach describes the experience of severed belonging, of being imprisoned in the pain of separation. A Course in Miracles reminds us heaven is not a place or condition. It's merely an awareness of perfect oneness. Yet severed belonging is vast these days. How is your heart meeting the world these days? Tara Brock. What splendor do your bars imprison? Wouldn't you like your splendor to be released? What if all our splendors were released at the same time? Wow. Okay. On three, release some of your splendors. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Whoa. What we don't talk about so much here are the things going on in our bodies that contribute to the imprisonment. Yes, it's that nasty thought, but that thought leads to increased heart rate, shallow breathing, and more racing, nasty thoughts. Why am I talking about all this human bodily stuff on a Sunday morning rather than reminding you that we are all divine? Because for me, I'm guessing perhaps for many of you, I often need to be aware of and then get that stuff under control to put me in a position to choose who and how I want to be in the world, to choose how I want my heart to meet the world. Our humanity gives us clues as how to access our divinity when we notice our body's messages, when we honor them and then choose again. I was really delighted to see Unity address this in a pamphlet, Love, Healing, and Abundance, and in an article called Living in Sacred Awareness. Reverend Kandra states that the simplest, most direct choice for accessing presence is noting physiological responses, depth and pace of breath, muscle tension, sensation in the pit of your stomach. All are infallible diagnostics for whatever's happening mentally and emotionally. She says, noticing body and breath provides input for making adjustments and recentering ourselves in spirit. That makes so much sense to me. When my breathing is shallow and rapid because of something that makes me anxious, upsets me, whether it's large or small, real or imagined, I'm not thinking from my divine self. I'm not reacting from my heart. I am not living principle 2. We all have a spark of divinity within us. Okay, there, I've reminded you that you're divine, okay? Once I am aware of my eternal responses, I can calm my innards, choose to make my breathing slower, deeper. You know, I used to work at a psychiatric hospital. I used to teach assertiveness training, and I know in many places they teach anger management. Learning one's physiological arousals, our bodily cues, are a critical part to recognize anger in order to manage reactiveness, those racing thoughts, to acknowledge that we're under some other stress, maybe not anger. But I can tell you in anger management, they don't teach that when you're about to go off, when you're about to hit someone, go to your divine self, the love inside. Of course, some people can do that. Today's speaker cannot always do that. Yet, I need to calm my innards. Thoughts arise from our past and the body responds. What we can be aware of is the body's response. Then our thoughts that now add fuel to the fire. Then I can choose to change direction, to choose to be kind, to be generous, even choose to be more patient, which is a big deal for me. I am reprocessing, renegotiating, retraining my brain, my body, slowing that runaway train down and allowing my heart to meet the world, and then sharing my splendor. So many interactions these days have kind of a bumper car quality to them. We sort of bounce off each other while we exchange information, smile, frown, burp, and then move on. Where's our splendor? Let me back up. Why is that so important? When I told a friend about this talk, she asked me, what makes us choose to be kind, loving, compassionate? What comes to mind for you? How about it's our being aligned with our true nature, our home? Biochemicals are released these times too that feel good. We are answering the call of our heart. And as the Talmud says, what comes from the heart enters the heart. These past few months, I crave my heart being touched. When it is, it takes me from surviving to thriving. I realized that last month, and I want to share two things that happened that were so impactful to me. I was feeling pretty low, pretty sad, little energy, not feeling great about the world. I went to Aldi's, got a few things. So there was no one online at the registers. Great, no waiting, as if I didn't have the time to wait. Put my things down, and the checkout guy started fiddling with the receipt roll. He had to put in a new one. Fine. Put in a new one, close the top, it wouldn't close. Took it out again, put it in, closed the top, it wouldn't close. Took it out, put it in, guess what? It didn't close. As he tries it again, my natural impatience appeared. No thinking, no heart, just reacting, a huge sigh. Why? I thought. To show him my displeasure? To give him a message of his incompetence? A sigh meant to shame? Ain't no splendor there. Well, he gets it fixed. He looks up and somehow I was smiling and he says, "Thank you for smiling." And I said, "Sure." He gave me my receipt. Once again, said, "Thanks for smiling. It made my day." I took my bag. I left the store in tears. I was smiling. I don't know how that happened, but it made a difference to this young man who probably has to often deal with customers' impatience. My heart opened up and it made a difference to both of us. And besides, when I leave this earth, I'd rather be remembered as that stranger who smiled at me when I couldn't get the receipt thing in versus the grumpy old man. I'm a grumpy old man too. I'd rather that not be the first thing remembered about me. You all getting that? Good. Moving on. Later that afternoon, same afternoon, I had to call a company to get my account unblocked. I put the wrong password in too many times. A guy answers, says he'll connect me with someone who can help. Another guy answers, he says he's not sure why the other guy just didn't help me. Huh? Big sigh. I am not pleased. He then says, "I can help you. Let me apologize. I have a cold, so I may sound weird." 1 minute later, it's taken care of. I'm unblocked. Unblocked in another way, too, thanks to my early experience that day. "Thanks so much," I say, "and hope your cold gets better." Silence. And then he says, "You sound like my grandfather. He died recently. Thank you for your kind words." Whoa. The groove of kindness, caring, somehow activated in the midst of my impatience. It was a heart decision to release my imprisoned splendor. I hung up, and yes, I cried. It's very vulnerable that day. There are times we see the effects of our response, our kindness. Often we don't, like planting seedlings, saplings. To be reminded twice in the same day, a day I felt I didn't have love to offer. It blew me away. I went from parched to overflow in the blink of an eye, as Anne Lamott has said. I love that, from parched to overflow. From being separate, different from another, parched, to being connected, making a difference. Overflow. I've shared these two experiences with so many friends, so these experiences have more of a chance to live inside me, so I can note my impatience, not condemn it. I deserve the same compassion that I share with others, that I could note it and choose again. And take in the gifts that choosing again brings. Gifts I need these days. I think we need to honor those times, to share them, excuse me, share them out loud with others. Put them into words to let those close to us help us celebrate moments, to help keep the message and the lesson alive within us, that we are the goodness of spirit expressing as Roy, as Chris, as Jonetta. Sharing the joy and goodness magnifies it, gives power to our affirmations, motivates us to choose again. At those times, the biochemicals, the neurotransmitters are bubbling up to let the emotional circuit run its course, not add fuel to the fire with old scorn we throw at ourselves. Perhaps at times we do not have to consciously choose. Our divine splendor may unfurl as naturally as breath. On that particular day, I couldn't see the good in the world, and I was somehow able to do what Reverend Sandy Butler reminded us of at our church. Can't see the good in the world? Bring your good to it. To experience what Hanuman says to a god in the Ramayana, an epic of Hinduism, when I don't know who I am, I serve you. When I know who I am you. That's not just a spark of divinity. I read a story recently, seemed to have special relevance these days. Little girl's having trouble falling asleep, calls for her mother, comes in, tucks her in again, kisses her, tells her that Jesus is there in the room with her. She doesn't need to be afraid. Mother leaves. A few minutes later, girl cries out for her again. Same scenario. You don't need to be afraid. Jesus is here in the room with you. Well, after this happens a few times with the mother saying pretty much the same thing, the girl says, I know Jesus is here, but I need someone with skin on. Anne Lamott reminds us that we are goodness with skin on. How has your world been changed, or how has a moment been changed because of another's willingness to be goodness with skin on? How has another's world been changed because of your willingness to bring Spirit's presence to them? She tells another story of a little boy whose mother asks him to go out in the dark at night to get a broom from the porch. He's scared, begs her not to make him go. She tells him there's nothing scary out there and that Jesus is there to help him. Okay, finally, the terrified boy goes out into the porch, opens the back door a crack, and says, Jesus, if you're really there, could you hand me the broom? Thank you. She writes, it has to be us getting people brooms. Unity Principle 5, a person must live the truth that they know. Take action as guided by their inner being. Or Principle 5, get people brooms. Just as the great philosopher Winnie the Pooh said, never stop doing little things for others. Sometimes the little things occupy the biggest part of their hearts. To support my heart these days when I go to bed, I tend to think of the kind things that I've done, kind things that others have done to me or for me, and to think back on kindnesses I've observed, that I've not been a part of, a moment of another being kinded. And nothing's too insignificant. You know, first I was thinking, oh, was that really kind? No, that's kind of nice. And that's really sweet. Throw it all together. Don't limit love and care. All reminders from my heart. For kindness is healing. I will be healed as I let love teach me to heal. Course in Miracles. It's Zach Perlman, one of the world's greatest violinists. He had polio as a child. He walks with braces and crutches. Once at a concert at Lincoln Center, one of the strings on his violin broke. It snapped. It was clear he could not play the piece as it was written. People wondered, would he put his braces on, get another violin? Would they bring another violin to him? He just waited a moment, closed his eyes, and then he signaled the conductor to begin. He played with 3 strings, adapting the piece. When he finished, the room was silent. Then the audience stood and cheered and bravoed until he raised his bow to quiet them and said, you know, sometimes it is your task in life to find out how much music you can still make with what you have left. What we have left. These days, at times, we may feel we have very little left. That's reasonable. We're human, and we hurt, and others hurt, and we care, and we get angry and scared, and we experience pain, physical and otherwise. And at those moments where we don't have much left, much patience, much hope, much compassion, because of things going on that are beyond our control, or things going on that are within our control, unmute a part of yourself. It doesn't have to be a symphony. It doesn't have to be a Broadway cast album. A few notes from you just might change the day or the moment for someone, as well as for you. Be the Jesus with skin on. Get the broom for someone who's frightened, hurting, isolated. Some time ago, on one of our Sunday services, we had a book draw, and a friend of mine was leading the book drawing. And he told someone who had just won a book but couldn't be heard to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. I say, unmute your imprisoned splendor by honoring your human side, all those biochemicals and all that stuff going on within our bodies and our mind, honoring that side while remembering the words of Hafiz, a Persian mystical poet from the 1300s. When no one is looking and I want to kiss God, I just lift my own hand to my mouth. And so it is, and so we are. And now, if you could join me for meditation, let your body be held by whatever you are sitting on. Allow it to support you. Allow it and welcome it. Let thoughts come and go as quickly. Nothing to do, nothing to hold on to, nothing to solve. Allow them to drift. And let the radiance of spirit come and make its home. Notice your breath. Notice what moves as you breathe. No judgment, just awareness, sacred awareness. Change the speed of your breathing and notice that. Which parts of your body move now? What else do you notice? Once again, change the pace or the depth of your breathing and notice the effect on your body. Awareness, your superpower. And then back to your gentle, regular breath. And notice the difference. From you, I receive. To you, I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Abide in silence and let the radiance of spirit come and make its home. You have divine gifts within, multiple gifts. There is always someone who needs to experience your splendor. Together we share, and from this we live. Let your space welcome you back. Note your breath, any changes, new movements, pacing, and let your heart welcome you back. And so it is. Amen.
Hey, thank you very much. That was wonderful. And thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching and see you next time.